Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Steve Marchese. I'm the Director of the Office of Labor Standards, and we're here on a very happy occasion, which is to announce the launching of the Driver Resolution Center and the launch of the full realization of the Fair Share Plan that we have been waiting for a number of months now. We are joined by the advocates and the community members and the workers and, of course, our mayor, the members of the drivers union, the leadership from the Teamsters, and we're here to talk a little bit about the importance of this launch, the reality that it will be bringing for drivers, and how this will really make a big difference for our community. As the Director of the Office of Labor Standards, our office exists to support and assist workers. We have labor protections in this city that are trailblazing, and this is part of that. And we are going to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the legislation. I just want to run you a little bit through what it is that this legislation is. 14.32 Seattle Municipal Code provides for the opportunity for drivers to contest unwarranted deactivations who drive with Uber and Lyft. This is new protections. These are protections that are going to be first in the nation, and it provides an opportunity for drivers to get assistance from the Driver Resolution Center and also to be able to contest these deactivations through an arbitration process that is going to enable them to have information, to be able to learn more about what the purposes are, and to contest, particularly in situations where this is going to be unjustified. This is the livelihood of our workers and of the drivers, and it's important that we have an opportunity to get this launched. This is a significant contract and investment from the city over the course of 18 months for both fiscal year 21 and into 22. It's a total of about $5 million. And we are going to be working with the drivers union. The drivers union is also going to be partnering with Teamsters Local 117, and again, you will hear from folks today who are representing those organizations. And this is an important opportunity for our office as the Office of Labor Standards. We invest in the community because we represent and work with the community in order to provide redress for the labor protections that we have. And we've got an extensive network of organizations that we work with through some of our other funding sources, both community and business outreach funds. And this is an addition now. This is a new initiative for us to partner with a community organization grounded in the work that they're doing with workers and making it possible for us to be able to evaluate how our Uber and Lyft partners, the community, the corporations are working with the drivers, the circumstances under which they are changing their status. Deactivation is essentially like shutting somebody off from their ability to earn a living. And when you're doing that, we want to make sure that it's done in a proper way and for good and clear reasons. And if that's happening for a driver, we want to make sure that they are able to contest that and get the information and the evidence on that. So I want to introduce, we've got a whole range of folks who are coming here, and I'm going to just introduce the next speaker. Each person will introduce themselves, and then we'll end up with our leader, the mayor, and she will have the opportunity to make some remarks as well. So I'm going to turn this over now to Peter Kuel from the Drivers Union for him to talk a little bit about their perspective. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you all here. And my name is Peter Kuel. I'm a president of Driver Union. Today, I'm so honored and humbled to be with you here today as we announce this new support service and protection for Uber and Lyft drivers. Starting July 1st, Seattle Uber and Lyft drivers will become the first gig workers in the nation to benefit from legal protection against unwarranted deactivation. On that same day, Driver Union will launch a new support service to help appeal unfair deactivation and know the right under the law and receive additional job support under the contract announced today. That means if a driver is terminated without a good reason, they will have legal appeal rights and a strong advocate on their side. I'm so proud that Uber and Lyft drivers in Seattle have come together, organized, and leading the way with the groundbreaking labor standard that set an example for the rest of the country. We are deeply grateful for the mayor of Seattle the Office of Labor Standard, Teamsters Local 117, and everyone who has stood with us, supporting us. Like so many drivers, my friends that are here today, I am a migrant to this country. I'm originally from South Sudan. I'm a human rights activist. I began working for hire transportation industry in the US in 2008. I was one of the drivers that joined over and live in Seattle back in 2014. Since that time, I've been fighting for the right of drivers for fair pay, security on the job, and boys at work. We are grateful to the city of Seattle for the supporting drivers with the nation-leading labor standard, fair pay, pay sick, and save time, and new deactivation protection that go into effect on July 1st. To access and protect these rights, drivers need education. They need training, representation, and legal support. Support for drivers need to come in their own language, in a place that are accessible to them, and from people who understand their work. Unfair deactivation has affected so many drivers. It has impacted me too. At the driver union, we know what immigrant drivers experience because it is our history. And that is what today's announcement is about, creating one one-stop shop by and for drivers where they can find service, support, and community. And that is a driver union. Thank you all again, and may God bless you. Now I would like to introduce my good friend, Nurayne Fofana, to share his deactivation history. Nurayne, please.
Hello, good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nurayne Fofana. I am with the Drivers Union. I started driving Uber and Lyft back in 2016. I was deactivated in 2018 because of an accident that happened. I was hit by uninsured motorists while I was driving for Uber. I was heading to Tacoma Dome to pick up. I went there and picked up the riders at the Tacoma Dome, heading out, and this vehicle backed out from a parking space, crossed two opposite lane, and hit me. Thank God I was okay. Nobody was injured. Me and the passengers, no one was injured. So I called the police. The police came, investigated the accident, and issued the uninsured motorist tickets. Later, Uber get into the accident, investigated. They had an insurance, which is James River Insurance at that time. They did their investigation and found out the uninsured motorist was at fault. So they pursued them to collection. So with all this investigation from both the police and the insurance that proved that I was not at fault, I still lost my job because there was no protection for me. And that was a tough time for me and my family because I was in between jobs that time. My family has to rely on the single income of my wife. That's because I have a wife. Some drivers don't have a wife. They are the sole, providers of their families. On that time for me, I had to rely on the income of my wife. It was tough for me. But thank God right now to the City of Seattle, Labor Department, and the Mayor of Seattle, Mayor Durkan. Thank you very much. Drivers will have a protection going forward. We really appreciate that, and I'm so glad this is happening. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today, and this is a new day for us. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks to all the media professionals for covering this important issue. My name is Nicole Grant, and I'm with MLK Labor, and we represent over 150 different unions in this community, over 100,000 union workers, and this is a very special day for workers all over King County and Seattle. Workers in our community know how to stand up for themselves and how to stand up for their families and their neighbors. And that's what this is here. Whether it's the $15 an hour minimum wage, or it's the paid family leave, secure scheduling, the Seattle Promise, all of the things that we've worked together with the city of Seattle to secure for ourselves and our families lead us to this moment when workers are able to stand together with their coalition and all the people that supported this project, whether it was Transportation Choices or the Housing Development Consortium, and make sure that if you drive for Uber or Lyft, you're gonna get paid right and you're gonna be protected on the job. So big thanks to Mayor Durkan for delivering a big victory for labor and to all the drivers for getting us around town.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Today is really an important milestone, not just for the city of Seattle and for the drivers you see behind me and driving through Seattle right now, but it really is going to be the national model. And you have heard today what I heard for the months and months that we were able to work with drivers and listen to them as we shaped this legislation in the beginning, how much of an advantage the rideshare companies have over the drivers. And we saw during this pandemic how much our economy has shifted. You saw that those people who were involved in tech or could work from home did well, but those who couldn't work from home didn't do as well. And those who couldn't work from home and didn't have any protections, they suffered the most. And if there's anyone in Seattle who had food delivered during the pandemic, thank the drivers and people like them behind me. If there's any of you who relied on a rideshare to get to a place you had to go, thank the drivers. And I heard so many stories, like you've just heard about somebody who had an accident that was not their fault, but they were locked out. And we've seen in this new economy, in some ways, it is a miracle that you can pick up your phone and you can see exactly where the rideshare drivers are and you can get a ride to go anywhere, or you can call and have food delivered to your house. But it all relies on them being able to access that platform too. And if the driving companies can just turn it off with no right of appeal, they are taking away the livelihood of families. And I heard story after story of single moms and dads who relied on that income for their families, and then it was shut off, and they had nowhere to go. Anyone who's tried to navigate a phone tree knows how hard it is when you can't get the human. Today, this legislation and this new dispute resolution center will solve that. It's a place for people to go, to get the facts, and to resolve for people to be able to go on. We want to keep our roads safe, but we want to make sure that we're equitable. I want to thank the drivers union. I want to thank Teamsters 117. I want to thank all the drivers who took the time to talk to me during this period of time, knowing that every minute they were here in City Hall or the other places we met were minutes they weren't driving and supporting their family, because they only get paid for the rides they do. So this really is going to be, I think, a model for the nation on the gig economy. How do we make sure as we build out that workers keep the protections they deserve? Because protected workers are better for everyone. It guarantees the safety of our neighborhoods and families. It makes sure that as we move and shift in the next economy, that everybody gets to shift and we close disparities. So a lot of people have seen during this pandemic, we're doing everything we can to build back better, more justly, more equitably. And we've got the infrastructure, a new beautiful park will be at the waterfront. We're gonna open an arena, a convention center. But really, we want to come back better and stronger. We got to protect the people. We got to make sure our economy will flourish for everybody and everybody has access to it. And this dispute resolution center is going to be critical to that, and it's going to be a model for other areas where we have gig workers. So I want to thank all the drivers for hanging in with us. I want to thank the Teamsters for the work they did, for the rideshare union, and I also want to thank Steve Marchese, who's head of our Office of Labor Standards, who's the first time we've met in person since he started his job because of the pandemic, because they've been working really hard during this pandemic so that we can launch. This is part of our reopening. This is part of our recovery, and this is going to be one of the things that makes sure when Seattle comes back, it's better, it's more just, it's more equitable. So thank you very much for being here, and happy to take any questions for me or any of the people that address the audience. First, I think that we have to look at whether those fares were really raised because of this, because it hasn't gone into effect yet. I think there were a lot of economic pressures on every part of the economy during the pandemic. We're going to be looking carefully at those and working with the companies, but here's what I have to say. If you have the luxury of calling a car on your phone or ordering a meal on your phone, don't you want to support the driver and the family behind it? Don't you want to make sure they're treated fairly? Because if they aren't, maybe you'll be the person next who isn't treated fairly. We have to be creating an economy where people are protected and not exploited.
Mayor, question from the internet, from Noah Bant in West Seattle. Will drivers be able to use these resources to hold Uber and Lyft or other ride shares accountable for lost wages that occurred from being locked out of their accounts, especially during the pandemic?
I think those regulations, I'm going to let Steve address that. We're working at, the first part of the dispute resolution was the being cut off from the system appropriate or not? And then the remedies after that we're still developing. But Steve, do you want to address that?
Sure.
Yes, there'll be the full range of opportunities to contest, the conditions that the drivers are working in. Obviously, it's going to be situation by situation. But drivers who have been locked out during the course of the pandemic, there's the ordinance will go into effect on July 1st. Drivers will have 60 days from the time that they are notified that they have a deactivation to be able to contest that. They will be able to work with the drivers union and the driver center to be able to then determine whether they're going to contest the decision. For compensation purposes and loss of compensation would be among the issues that they can contest during the process.
Great, thank you, and thank you, Noah, for the question.
Is that it? All right. I do want to say one last thing on that is having this dispute resolution center actually will also, I think, improve the safety of our roads. If you look at the number of vehicles from rideshare before the pandemic, it was a significant amount of our traffic. And the last thing we want to do is to tell drivers, don't report accidents. I heard many cases where somebody was in an accident that was not their fault. They did what they should do. They called the police responded, including being hit by drunken drivers. But then it goes on their record instead of the record of the person who was at fault. So I think in the long run, this will actually also make our roads a safer place. But clearly will make it more fair. And this day is a real important milestone and victory for workers, and it belongs to the drivers who fought so hard for this and the people who represented them. So thank you.